Did you see the something I sent you, bro?
Yeah.
The estimate for me was that if she picks up, she can lose Nevada, Arizona, but she must, and North Carolina, but she must pick up Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Otherwise, there's no path for her. So we're looking at it. Obviously, yeah, Trump can win Nevada, Georgia, Ohio, North Carolina, Iowa, and if she picks up these 3 states, she'll be fine. She'll cover up for everything. That will put her at 270 and put him at 268. But usually, this is how it always plays out, no?
Yeah.
It always plays out in a manner that it's showing Republicans taking the lead ahead because there are a lot of states because of the laws of gerrymandering. They call these races very early on. Say Montana, for example, 2% reporting. They already called it for Donald Trump. Huh?
Okay.
North Dakota, 30% reporting. They already called it for him. South Dakota, the same thing. So all of these states, they carry very small electoral college votes. Nebraska, and they know that the number of Oklahoma is at 80% actually. Texas at 66%, Louisiana at 48%. But the chances of this state flipping close to zero.
Dang.
Alabama 30%. Eh?
I mean, I'm just saying, there's no need for
So my question is, does every single vote count? You understand? Because it's looking as if it doesn't. It only counts in the swing states.
Yeah.
Every other person's vote is pretty much a guarantee.
The ones
Like,
that bring
you're
most money.
going to vote, but the community that you reside in will determine the quality of your vote. So if whether you vote blue or red and you live in a blue or red community, that's what's going to engulf the entirety of who you vote for. But looking at all of these charts, it's just very intriguing to see how everything is playing out. So Nevada results should be coming in anytime soon. Arizona, they are 34%. Donald Trump leading by a very slim margin, like freaking 20 votes or something. If she does pick Arizona, she can afford to lose Wisconsin. She cannot afford to lose Wisconsin, Arizona, and North Carolina. She cannot afford that. But she has to pick up Michigan and Pennsylvania. Eh?
I think the Arizona polls is closed. There's a live.
Yeah, the polls are closed, but they've gone into the count. So
Okay.
because people were still voting. So I was just trying to see how they play this election game a little different.
This time around?
No, just in general.
Okay.
They play it a little different. This is a gamble. I mean, you can go on this betting site and bet who you want to win and actually win some money. But the reason why I was actually bringing it up was I wanted to talk about some of the ballot measures that were implemented. Some of the ones about abortion. I know there's one in Texas that was talking about banning homeless people, and I don't know how I feel about that.
I mean, it's like the only thing I'll say is like what is being put in place, man. What is the expectation?
But that is this government for you now. They can remove something without putting anything in place to
they have to
create some kind of safety net for these folks. It doesn't make any sense. But I mean, this is the reality that we exist in.
Yeah.
The abortion one passed in New York. The one in New York came with a lot of other measures combined. The one in Florida, the abortion one in Florida did not pass. by a significant margin. So we are watching that closely, and we're seeing he has taken the lead in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania with
Okay.
45% reporting.
All right. Mm.
Yeah. So let's hear your prediction, Jesse.
Oh man, the way the map is, I mean, I saw some videos talking about Texas used to be blue and stuff like that, but Nevada, I think Nevada is a must for her. California is a must, which I think that's a done deal.
Yeah, California is a done deal. California, Washington. So everything that I don't, if you see my chart, everything that is already marked in blue is
Yeah,
pretty much going to be like North Dakota, Montana. So looking at what we're looking at here, she will most likely pick up Washington, most likely pick up Oregon. Idaho might be a toss up. Yeah, she. Let's see.
and I think Georgia is. Oh, I'm interested to see what Georgia is going to do. And then that middle,
So can you
they,
see my screen?
they called Ohio.
Yeah, Ohio usually goes Republican for whatever reason. I'm just pulling up what Biden. Um, so looking at this 2020 result, huh?
Uh,
He picked up. So I look at when I look at the state, I look at by how much margin a Democrat won, right?
yeah,
So Biden picked up Washington with 58%, so she will most likely pick up Washington. Biden picked up Oregon with 56%, so she will most likely pick up Oregon. Nevada might be a toss-up, so we don't know yet. Arizona might be a toss-up. Um, Biden picked up Colorado with 55%, so she will most likely pick up Colorado. Biden picked up New Mexico, so she will most likely pick up New Mexico. Minnesota almost a guarantee because it's very liberal. Wisconsin is one of the toss-ups too. Michigan was a toss-up. Georgia was a toss-up for Biden. So these are very tight races. But the ones that are almost guaranteed are New York, Virginia, um, Maine, DC, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey. Uh, so when we go back to our present map, we will start to see, yeah, he has the lead in Oregon by 1%. Washington State, she'll probably pick up this, pick up that, pick up this. So this is 1, 2, 3. This should be about 50. Let me see. Washington, California, Nevada. No, not Nevada. Washington, California, uh, New Mexico. So California is 55. Washington is 12. That is 77. 67. Oregon is 7, 74, 70 plus New Mexico, 79. So if we add 79 to whatever she has, she's pretty much tied with Trump. Go.
okay.
And then we start to look at the little plays that happen. So North Hampshire is probably going to go to Kamala. Virginia will most likely go to Kamala, even though Trump is leading now, which is weird. But okay, let's look at that. North Carolina might go to Trump. Georgia is a huge. I mean, he's leading by 200,000 votes, and it's 81% reporting. So that might be close. Arizona, he's leading by 20 or 25 or 30 votes. That might go to Trump or Kamala. There's no telling. Wisconsin would have to go to, so she cannot afford to lose Wisconsin and Arizona. She cannot afford. Like she needs to pick up Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. But
Hmm.
yeah, that is just my little take on it. But as results come in, we'll analyze better.
Oh yeah.
By the way, he's leading by the popular votes too.
He's leading by Proverbs.
Yeah, by almost 4 million votes.
They've not done the big guns. I think it's West Coast. Once that California is 54, man. That's
Yeah,
big time. Yeah.
California, Washington will take care of business very easily.
Yeah.
And
That
then
is
we have Hawaii. But she needs to pick up these three. If she doesn't pick up these three, she'd have to pick up Nevada and Georgia. But Pennsylvania is a must because it's 19 electoral votes. Michigan is 15. Wisconsin is 10. Georgia is 16. So she can't afford to lose Georgia and Pennsylvania. But the best part for her will be to pick up Pennsylvania because Georgia will be a very difficult thing to pick up for her because being a woman, right? In those regions, a
yeah,
colored
that's why
woman
I'm
is
like I'm interested to see what Georgia would do.
yeah,
That one would be interesting. Like really, and I think that one closed before most of them. Like so,
yeah,
if that one is blue, then it's like almost a slam dunk, right? At
yeah.
this point, yeah.
So
But
even
man,
Minnesota is 10 electoral votes. Trump is leading by by fucking 18 points. Sorry for swearing, but it's just 2% reporting. So they definitely. I'll be surprised if he picks up any of the states in the blue war. It's over. It's over.
she's Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Michigan.
So she already got Illinois, but
Oh, sure, you're going
yeah, Illinois has been called already for Kamala.
and then
So
Ohio.
Wisconsin,
Ohio.
Michigan, Ohio. See, I usually play Ohio out because I know that it will most. Ohio has been called for Trump actually. It's Iowa that has 6 electoral votes. That is the what do they call it? Last cap or whatever it is that these kids say these days, right? Late night cap for most presidents. That is the final thing that they need to just close that deal. So
Wait, I
in
think I think she's leading for.
where?
Uh, let me just verify what I'm looking at. Yeah, so they have combined. She's 59, he's 40 so far.
Huh?
Yeah, she's 59, he is 40.
What are you counting?
No, I'm just saying, like on the chart, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, they're showing she's already 59 electoral votes already.
it's 109. Look at it here.
She's 109.
Yeah, and Trump is 198.
Okay. What am I looking at? Oh, okay.
He has taken the lead in Pennsylvania, and she has taken the lead in Michigan and Wisconsin and Arizona. This is crazy. Like it's back and forth. The only way that I can afford for her to lose Pennsylvania is she must pick up Arizona and Nevada. Like there's no, and it's still going to be 3 electoral votes short, even if she picks up those two. So it's a tight situation for her. for her. My projection is this 272 to 268, 273 to 268. I can't say who is getting what, but that's how close it's going to be. Because what Biden did 306 to 232. So
And they're leading in the Senate seats.
who?
The Democrats. And Republicans are leading in the House.
Well, Republicans had more seats to contest. So let me see. Senate seat. Republicans gained one seat from the Democrats. Democrats lost one seat. But they're sitting at 47 to 36 Dems. There are still how many seats left? About 25 seats left to fill up. Uh, we're not going to know anything about these elections today for sure.
Because, oh man. But yeah, look at when he, let me share this so you see when he historical debate. Bobby. Mhm. Okay.
We have now heard.
See, this is one I found this historical debate that went down with Lincoln and Douglas. Just watch the
We have now heard the leading arguments of the two candidates for the high office of United States Senator from Illinois, Judge Stephen A. Douglas and Mr. Abraham Lincoln. Each of the candidates will now speak in rebuttal. Judge Douglas.
these guys had an hour each to open for
Yeah.
an hour, and then rebuttal was 30 minutes each.
My fellow citizens, my good friend Mr. Lincoln has addressed you with his usual artless sincerity, his pure homely charm, his perennial native humor. Like Mr. Lincoln harps constantly on this subject of equality. He repeats over and over the argument used by love. Mr.
The
Abraham
terror
Lincoln.
of the world.
And the way they were talking is like, you know, there's gluttony, they're very, I think they've seen the land and how they've already conquered it and terror of the world. Man,
Now, you've heard the judge make allusion to those who advocate voting and eating and marrying and sleeping with Negroes. Whether he meant me specifically, I do not know. If he did, I can only say that just because I do not want a colored woman for a slave, I do not necessarily want her for a wife. I do not need to have her for either. I can just leave her alone. In some respects, she is certainly not my equal any more than I am the judge's equal in some respects. But in her natural right to eat the bread she earns with her own hands without asking leave of somebody else, she is my equal and the equal of all others. The purpose of the Dred Scott decision is to make property and nothing but property of the Negro in all states of the Union. As a nation, we began by declaring all men are created equal. There was no mention of any exception to that rule in the Declaration of Independence. But we now practically read it, all men are created equal except Negroes. What is to stop us in future from decreeing all men are created equal except Negroes, foreigners, Catholics, Jews, or just poor people? This is the complacent policy of indifference to evil. And that policy I cannot but hate. I hate it because it deprives our republic of its just influence in the world, enables the enemies of free institutions everywhere to taunt us as hypocrites, causes the real friends of freedom to doubt our sincerity. In his final words tonight, the judge said that we can be the terror of the world. I don't think we want to be that. I think we would prefer to be the encouragement of the world, the proof that at last man is worthy to be free. But we shall provide no such encouragement unless we can establish our ability as a nation to live and grow. And we shall surely do neither if these states fail to remain united. There can be no distinction in the definition of liberty as between one section and another, one class and another, one race and another. A house divided against itself cannot stand. This government cannot endure permanently, half slave and half free.
That's a more powerful message.
Huh?
That was a more powerful message than the other one that was trying to stoke fear. So this character trait has always been existent in this country.
Yep.
This guy just tapped into that mental space, because you see that you felt the fear, the anger, the rage, all of these emotions. It might be different words, but if you assess the feeling, what it stirs up in you, you get the same thing from, for example, a Trump speech. And I mean, look, let's talk about this for a minute. I'm not somebody that's confined to a party or another, right? I don't just support a party because the church or the mosque tells me to support them. You understand? I do my own observation, and I feel like I'm a decent person when it comes to observation. I'm fair. If I feel like what you're saying is decent, right? If it's something that shows empathy, compassion, love for people outside of yourself, absolutely. But if you come out there and you're spewing a certain kind of message and putting out hatred, fear, and all of these nasty emotions, that becomes a problem. And people always say, "Oh, you're not a Trump supporter." No, yes, because this individual does not align with what I believe, the worldview I have, what I believe in, how I think a leader should carry himself, how I think a leader should speak, how I think a leader should address the less privileged around amongst him. So it's not about party lines, and this is where people tend to. It's easier for them to categorize you as a Republican or a Democrat or a non-Republican or a non-Democrat or an independent. It's easier because in doing so, you don't have to ask these other questions these intimate questions with that person, like, okay, hey, what is it that guides your political affiliations? And when I ask you a question, hey Jesse, what are some of the things that guide your political um, alliances? What would you say? What are some of the things that you say, Jesse?
I mean, it's freedom to, first of all, is freedom to practice religion freely without having any to think about any repercussions or anything, and then freedom to actually find myself, and that's what I want to first of all look at, and then start with the things that matters to me most. You know, family, God, and economy. You know, that I think those are my top three. Like,
So
and
you
then I
gave me
think,
a view on how it affects you. Just go ahead,
what?
Go ahead.
Yeah, but those are my three compass that I'll start off with, and of course, you will never find anybody that's going to be perfect, but you're gonna just kind of weigh it out and see which one you can effectively work with to be able to, because every one of us has to also work as individuals or as smaller groups, minorities, to be able to accomplish things, because nobody really has the right answers. Nobody can solve all the problems. Human beings are complex. It is. So that's I think that's what I will start with. I don't know what other question are you trying to ask.
No. I think you answered it. I was just talking about, because obviously people are different. Some people might answer that question from a personal point of view. Some might
Yeah.
answer it from an objective point of view. I gave him an objective answer, like what I expect to see in a leader, right? No, personally, if we were to, like, were to give him my own preference, I'll talk about people that look at the least amongst them with grace and honor and love, rather than destroy these individuals emotionally or psychologically or intellectually. The fact that somebody is in a different class than you does not necessarily mean for you to look down on that person, because you don't know what tomorrow holds. So any leader that tends to, like the speech we just listened to and watched, the first speaker came out and painted a picture of an America that must crush other countries' necks, right?
Yeah.
They must be feared. They must be this. They must be that. And then the other individual, Lincoln, I suppose, came
Mhm.
in and said, "Okay, no, look, he even in his, I disagree with some of the things that he said about the black woman not being a slave, but him not wanting to marry her either, right? He doesn't want to make her his wife, but doesn't mean that her freedom should not be guaranteed, because any house that stands up against itself will not any house that rises against itself will not stand. And obviously, you start to see the nuances play out when you listen to these individuals. But it's very easy to paint the entire
I
board
think
with a,
I think with that statement with the woman thing. I mean, I think he was trying to say his preference. I think.
to
I
say what.
mean, his preference, like what.
No, I mean, nobody needs to hear that. That is not the place for your preference, because
I,
this is how I look at it. Any any form of shaky ground you present to these people, they'll jump upon it, like I just did, right? You could have made your point without stating that preference, and these are some of the things that make individuals unique, right? Some people tend to express their preferences in a manner, other people don't tend to do that. Because, say for example, he could have said, "Hey, I don't think." Obviously, yes, he's guided by the environment that he lives in,
yeah, I
but
think that's the
he
most
could have,
important thing. Yeah, I think
but
that's
yeah, he
what.
could have said, yeah, whether it doesn't matter what my personal preference is. I just feel like the right thing to do is that these individuals must be free and be treated with dignity and respect. But when you add a qualifier to it, like, oh, I wouldn't want to marry her, but doesn't mean that she doesn't have rights. In my mind, I feel like it's a diminishing message. No, this is no, but the reason why I brought that up was because no politician is perfect, right? Nobody
Mhm.
that's coming up, nobody in the world is perfect, first of all. And you're going to disagree with people that you love. it's not a blanket statement for, and this is the mistake that most people make in this present day elections. Because they support a candidate in one thing, they must support the candidate in all things. And it becomes challenging for you to, where do you draw the line, right? You don't necessarily agree with this individual in this regard, but because they said this other thing that you like and it's the only candidate running on this message that you like to hear, then it becomes, oh, now I'm a, say, let's use Trump, for example. I can promise you that a good chunk of his supporters don't agree with everything that he stands for. But when you put that red hat on and you look at them from the outside, you see an image of the worst version of them reflected on that individual, on every single person. And if we were to have a civil conversation with some of these individuals, you would realize that you would agree on issues much more than you disagree on issues. But the personal preferences, like Lincoln mentioned, like the red hat, those are very unique identifiers that makes people tend to be like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to judge you off of the worst version of you that I have seen. And that is a big mistake in the political landscape, and even in the social landscape or every other form of human interaction. That's how I kind of look at it. Hey, Bobby, it's good to see you.
Yeah, how's it going, guys?
Good.
Okay.
What's up, Jesse?
Yeah, what's up, man? Welcome in. Welcome in. We're just going through the political arena and the vote. Yeah, I put a video about the first. That was the first debate that happened in this nation, and we can see like how what a glimpse of what the climate was and what they were debating about, and is about actually giving freedom to other people and try to compare it with what's going on now. And I don't know if you guys have seen the stats of how much undocumented immigrants have put in the have donated into the. I mean, has put into the system. Guess how much in 2022? Wait, hello?
How much?
What was going on?
We can hear you.
I think I'm froze, right?
No, we can hear you, Jesse.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
How much have they put in?
96 million. I mean, $96 billion. So that's with the.
That number is not accurate. I'll come back on Cam in a second here. I think Jesse is gone.
Yeah, his network is always.
I was going to say that number is not entirely accurate because a lot of people are working unreported jobs in taxis, right? So if we say 15 to 20 million people are undocumented in the country. So let me wait for him to come. Okay, Jesse.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So you said $96 billion, right?
Yeah.
And I was just trying to point out that if 15 to 20 million people are undocumented, right? I would say maybe 50% or slightly over 50% are the ones that are actually working jobs that they have to report their actual income to the IRS. That's taxable income, right?
Yeah.
A good number of those individuals are working under the table jobs where they pay them cash or they don't have to report some of this income to the IRS. So I would even argue that number is maybe close to double, if not more.
Yeah, because sales tax is not included.
Yes.
Rent, all this,
so
the cost of living, all that other stuff.
It's difficult to evaluate some of these numbers because we don't have an efficient system that identifies. We don't have an identifier system, right? We have a collective system where it's like, okay, how many employees were claimed undocumented when they filed their tax returns? Because the IRS is the mother of all of these statistics for the because nobody goes to the Bureau of Labor to report that they're undocumented and they're working. Obviously, nobody does that. So it comes through IRS. And a lot of people file the taxes maybe without even realizing that IRS would not enforce any immigration laws against you. So they claim to be citizens when they might not be, when they file taxes, right? And there might not be a visible penalty in the short term, but long term it affects you in multiple ways. But that's a different conversation for a different day. But my best guess, and every stat I've seen out there over the last 5 to 8 years has leaned more towards close to $1 trillion.
That's from the immigrants
Yes,
or
yes,
illegal,
undocumented.
undocumented.
And McCain, 2012, McCain was pushing for a very solid immigration reform. Him and a few Democratic senators, about 12 of them, they came up, they put it on the House floor. They couldn't, during the committee, it couldn't pass committee. But it passed committee, but they didn't agree to put it on the floor to vote. That reform was going to charge undocumented immigrants $5,000 a year. No, $5,000 to get their citizenship. So
Okay.
$1,000 a year.
Wow.
For you to stay in status. So at the end of 5 years, you become a US citizen automatically. As long as you've paid your bills, you've paid your taxes, you've held on to a job, you have reasonable employment history, you don't have any criminal problems going on, and all of these very rigorous systems.
Yeah,
And
I think that would have made a lot of sense, and
but the money that they were estimating to bring in through that itself alone was close to $960 billion over a span of 5 years.
That's a lot of money.
Yes, and imagine what that could have done for Medicaid, Medicare, so SSD, Social Security Disability, all of these programs that are struggling in the financing department. So, in my own opinion, it's downright irresponsible for you to realize that individuals that exist in this country can actually increase the value and put dollar amounts into because if you look at it, think about it, most immigrants that are living here, most undocumented immigrants that are living here that are paying taxes. They are paying taxes into a bottomless pit. They can never benefit from those taxes they're paying. No, well, not taxes. Taxes. Social Security income tax is there, right? You're paying Medicare, Medicaid in your tax return, and then you're paying your federal taxes. And then whatever it is that you're paying on sales tax is going to your roads and bridges. So illegal immigrants are paying into a system that they will never benefit from. And if I were a pessimist, I would argue that it makes more sense for them to keep these people as illegals here and have them pay into a system like you're essentially bankrolling a system without any benefits. That is irresponsible. Well, I'd like to hear somebody else's opinion about this.
But if they solve the illegal immigration issue right now, right? What would the Republican campaign on the next election?
I asked somebody this question in 2012. I'm like, they will run on that. What? There were no caravans.
That's why they will never solve it, no matter.
Yes. There were no caravans in 2012.
Keep going on, because they had the opportunity. Was it earlier this year to sort that situation out? So like the guys at the border can like do their job. They like employ more border patrol.
Yes.
Have more resources for these guys to control that. The border areas. But we saw what happened.
Yeah.
Donald Trump was gonna campaign on that, and there was no way he's gonna let his stooges, vote yes on that bill. And we can see now that throughout his campaign, he's used that as a weapon to galvanize votes, and more supporters. And as you can see, he's gonna win.
Yeah, it's looking like that for sure.
You think he's gonna win?
Yeah, he's at
I
210.
don't know
He's
yet,
at
but
210. He's at
he's
210 right now, and Kamala is at 91.
he's at 210, so he only
So
needs 60.
he just needs 60 more electoral votes.
He needs 60, but we're just waiting.
Because right now is let me share my screen real quick.
I think
It's leading in.
most of the votes from the red states are in now.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
I mean, yeah. But you
So
see, he has taken the lead in Pennsylvania by almost 70,000 votes.
I
Can you
think
guys see my screen?
yeah, let me see. Yeah.
He has taken the lead in Pennsylvania by almost 70K, Michigan by close to 13,000 votes. These are pretty tight races to be sure. Um, Wisconsin by close to 20, 27,000, and Arizona by just
How many percent of
under 1,000.
the counting?
Most of
he's
them are
Yes.
leading, he's leading
50,
Arizona.
60. Yes.
I think he's gonna win Arizona.
I mean, it also depends on what counties they have counted first time, because Arizona is
Yeah,
really tight right now. So
Mm,
if they've counted some of the counties that tend to vote Republican, and this is the one of the issues I have with election, with democracy, right?
yeah.
Yes, it's not a very efficient system, because like me and Jesse were talking about, does every person's vote really matter when you look at it from this lens?
No.
Because from this lens over here, we're looking at Montana, 4% reporting, but they've called it for Donald Trump already, right?
Yes. Be- On a
That
very good
means
day, it's gonna. Usually it's the Republicans that wins.
exactly, but that is exactly my point, is that not every person's vote matters, because they haven't even counted 96% of the
Yeah.
electorate,
Yeah.
but they've already called it for this person.
Mm-hmm.
And this is I mean, I'm not saying there's a better system of government out there, but I'm just asking that question because I have to ask this question as an individual that is looking for some form of intellectual independence.
Mm-hmm.
How significant are the things that we do?
How accurate?
Yes,
Yeah.
because when you look at some of these numbers, you tend to scratch your head and wonder how they're so absolutely sure
Yeah.
that every single vote in that place goes to this individual. I mean, they've called Maine and Connecticut for Kamala too with almost the same margins, I
Yeah.
would say.
But
So
what would you do you think like eliminating the electoral vote will go a long way?
I think it will be well. It might offer some level of transparency to a certain extent. It might, because every single vote now would have to be counted.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a problem with the primaries, because we don't get to choose who runs in the primaries. These are people that are assigned by the party delegates, right?
Mm,
And this
yeah.
is where I prefer, say, like the parliamentary system, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
You like the party that controls the British government right now won 20% of the electoral vote. The rest of that is the majority.
Mm-hmm.
The rest
in
of it,
Britain.
and this is yes,
So, oh wait,
this
so that's United Kingdom, right?
yes.
Yeah.
So like the counting constituency. Constituencies are regarded as what the
No,
electrical
their system of government is different. They have a parliamentary system, right?
It's parliamentary.
So
yeah, parliamentary government.
over here they have a two-party system, and this two-party system, it becomes difficult for you to break into. You have to be an establishment politician to
Yeah.
break into candidacy to represent any of these two major parties.
Mm-hmm.
But and look at Nigeria. Say Nigeria, for example. Let's use Nigeria as a case study. The positive aspect of Nigeria is there are over 100 political parties in Nigeria, right? But the issue that we've had is we've not been able to consolidate or write laws to be able to establish a code of conduct for the operation and running of these parties to run an election. So you can win an election in a parliamentary system with 20% of the votes, because the other 80% will be shared amongst 50 other political parties,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
true.
now you'll be forced to form a coalition government. So now you now have parties coalescing together. Like, all right, we share similar values. We can adjust here and there. So now the voters have more say in how their politicians act. They have more leverage, because if I were to start like a party that wants to focus on eliminating homelessness in the United States of America, right?
Yeah.
And I get 5% of the votes. That is significant. Now, maybe the Labour Party says, hey guys, I need your 5% to get majority. Can you coalesce with us? I'll be like, I will not coalesce with you unless you invite this one single thing that I'm running on. Okay, fine. Let's come to a compromise. We're going to create a timeline where we eradicate this in the next 10 years. But for now, we'll put this and this and this on ground. Not change in politics is overnight. But when you lay that kind of groundwork, the voters are better off, right? Because their voices are heard more. This is just my idea on it. Whereas a two-party system, the voters tend to adjust to the elites.
Yeah, it's true.
Rather than the elites adjusting to the voters.
Well, to an extent, instead of that divide and conquer, I mean, what other examples do we have of other nation, or good examples that has been successful? Because I'm thinking maybe that's part of the problem, but I'm also thinking if you go and do it because at the end of the day, you have two major candidates that it's either going to be that or this. The example.
But you didn't really choose them. That's my point. You didn't really choose those candidates. How much say did you have in who is running on the Democratic side or the Republican side?
Yeah.
You have zero say.
Selected.
No, I mean, except if you join that. No, that's what I'm saying. But if you go and split the votes, like we're having like multiple party system, to an extent, the disadvantage. I'm just weighing the advantages and the disadvantages.
Well, you see, when I said
there's any examples that we can really point to.
When I said my point, I mentioned that for the voters' voice to be heard, this is the system that works for them. Now, obviously, the UK, they don't elect the president. The party that controls, there's a majority, the leader of the party becomes the prime minister of the country. That's how it works. So it's an entirely different system. But what my point is that the voters have more say in who leads them in a much more flexible manner than this form of democracy. And every single.
Oh no, I understand that point. I'm just like trying to look at it from a lens of like, okay, because we are practicing democracy. I mean, we're fooling ourselves to an extent that we're practicing that. I mean, because with a lot of parties, you've split a lot of
votes.
Yeah, you've split a lot of. Like,
when you're talking about Nigeria.
Yeah, I'm talking about Nigeria.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to see what will be like.
Let me explain what is wrong. Let me explain what is wrong with Nigeria's system. Nigeria is using a parliamentary system to elect president. That does not work. You can't copy the British style to elect a president. They don't elect a president. They don't need to elect a president.
They don't.
The leader of the party becomes the prime minister. But we took that system of multiple parties and want to use it to elect presidents. That's not going to work because we still end up coming back to a two major party system or three major party system.
Exactly, that's what
just like here.
But this is the problem. The problem is that we have not done our due diligence in trying to figure out the system that works for the kind of communities that we have. We copied from here and we copied from here, and we're trying to amalgamate two systems that would not naturally unite. It does not work that way. So when I use the UK, for example, when I use other Eastern European countries, for example, Western European countries, sorry, they have a majority government system. Okay, let's talk about the Communist Party in China. It's the same ideology. It's the same ideology. The leader of the party becomes the prime minister of the country. And for a while,
is that the same with Japan as well?
Yes. But for a while there, we had the
Example
prime minister.
Japan,
We had
right? I'm looking at Japan right now. They
we,
say
we had the prime minister in Nigeria at some point, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
What made us transition from that into a president?
Absolute power.
Because our system is designed for a prime minister. It's not
Yeah.
designed for a president.
But
We don't
but
have space for a
yeah,
president.
but like during then that period, right? And they did had like the western, the northern, and the eastern region, right?
Protectorates, yes.
Protectorate, and you have like the western governor, you have the eastern governor, then you have the prime minister, then you have the president, and all these leaders are from different, you know, different, not from one state also, so like
No, but
everyone.
every region had its own leader, and that's where I'm going to with this.
Oh, okay.
Because it's more applicable to us because we're a much more diverse group that don't have anything to band behind,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Say if we're going to run New York, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and run a presidential election in New York
Mm,
with 60 plus political parties, it's going to be exactly like Nigeria,
mm,
chaos. My point is we look at our system and ask what are the things that we can do to make a more efficient process happen here,
mm.
and it becomes easier to answer the question. Let every region have its leader,
Right.
and every all the councils, because every region has its leader. So we have the leader of the southern protectorate, the leader of the northern, the eastern, and the western, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then amongst them, they have their board of advisors. I think 30 individuals that they handpick. These are not elected positions. These are people from renowned universities, professors, engineers, doctors. To
Well, what system are
essentially
you describing right now? Or is it
Nigeria system in the 60s.
okay?
So what they do now is that these individuals now come together and elect a president, a prime minister. They don't elect, they select who they want to lead them. And that was how they were able to get the Amadu Bello. The Amadu Bello was the what was his name? What was his title? The Tafa Balewas. And these learned men that ran the country like a school, like a principal, I should say. So when we look at it and say, okay, we want to take Obasanjo is the one that did this in '99. I want to take the American system with multiple political parties and then run a parliamentary system.
Yeah,
It will not work. I can promise you that. No matter what we do, there's no amount of laws that you can put in place to protect that system from collapsing on itself.
but
And I've seen.
man, I don't know if we can have a change of it or we can adapt. I'm trying to look at other political system around, like the Japan one. Do you really know how it works? Because it's saying constitutional monarchy with parliamentary government.
It's the same idea as the Britain. Yeah, that's what the British are practicing: constitutional monarchy with parliamentary government. So they have their king or queen, and then they have their parliament. So parliament, the king of queen is the king of queen. Obviously, they call them just figureheads, but they have more power than that. You and I know that. I mean, the queen is the president of the Commonwealth of Nations. So she's
Yeah.
the president of over 50 plus nations in the world. So that is fucking power. Sorry for cursing. I'm just frustrated. That is power. That is a lot of power right there. So
Man, I think our own is just all convoluted. I think we're
that is
doing
exactly
monarchy.
my point. We didn't sit down to say, hey guys, what do we want and how can it work for us? We've always done this copy and paste. I was talking to my mom the other day, and she was telling me that they are building a road, the stadium roundabout to station roundabout. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that route.
Yeah. That's
The
one
road
of
the road is so bad over there. My mom was telling me that they scraped it. Now they're pouring concrete before they put asphalt. And I talked to them about this construction style 8-10 years ago. I was like, the US, this is what they do. They pour concrete, put metal bars, and then lay asphalt on the concrete. So instead of repairing the whole road, they're just renewing the asphalt. And guess what Nigeria is doing? That's what we're doing. And my question was like, did anybody analyze our soil patterns to see if, because we most of Nigeria's soil is between clay and loamy in the residential areas, and then sandy soil obviously in the desert. Did anybody analyze our soil to see if that system is something that's going to be applicable for the way we construct, or this was just a mindless copy and paste? That is, and this can be inferred to all other aspects of our existence. Are we just copying and pasting, or are we doing any kind of research to see what works for us as a people? No, we are not. It's obvious now that we are not.
Okay, so what about South Africa? Do you understand the system?
They have a president. I think it's akin to Nigeria's system with multiple political parties as well. But their foundation is rooted on, is a pretty young democracy, 1989 to 1991. That is very young.
Because
so the challenge is that
feel like it's the party that is selecting the president. I don't
South
think
Africa, yes. Yeah. So yes, let me double check that. I'm not entirely sure right now. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm trying because it says constitutional democracy voting method, primarily in person, and then proportional representation.
And Constitutional Republic, Parliamentary Republic.
Yeah, okay.
So they have
you see it
So under the present constitution, the bicameral parliament comprises a National Assembly and National Council of Provinces. The current 28th Parliament was first convened in 14 June 2024 from 1910 to 1994. Members of Parliament were elected chiefly by a South African white minority. So it's a much more complex system, I would say, right? Just because of the appetite and everything else that happened there. But it's very akin to a parliamentary system and a constitutional republic. So it's very akin to what we're talking about in the UK or in Japan, right? We are the ones that, yes. So we are the ones that went to choose the United States methods without having. Then the United States is a constitutional republic by definition.
Constitutional republic.
Yes, by definition. Everything that they're doing has to abide by the Constitution. In all of these other places, it's a parliamentary.
They're the only ones that have electoral college.
Yes, that's a uniquely American problem.
It's just the US.
They're the only ones that added electoral college. But electoral college will be like our own constituencies, right?
Not really. No. We don't have that system in that manner. We go by popular vote.
We go by
what they're supposed to be doing. Yes.
That's what we go by. Every vote is counted. Every vote is counted. But
every democracy in the world goes by popular vote.
And then you count the states that won, and then you go by the states that won the.
You don't need to go by states that won. Popular vote to cover everything else that you need to cover.
Yeah.
So even if you win more states, if you have popular vote,
if you go by popular vote, you're going to win the state that you won because that is the most popular vote in the state. Say for example, let me share this screen again so that I can be very clear. Say for example, instead of we will not have any election result right now. So they've given say, can you guys see this screen I'm sharing?
Mm-hmm.
So they've assigned California and Washington to Kamala. She's at 179 now. Trump is at 214. They've given her New York as well. So let's just take let's take California for example. 0% reporting. Can you guys see?
Yeah.
54 electoral votes. They haven't counted a single vote there, in my own opinion.
What about New York?
0% reporting. New York, 78% reporting. So when you look at this, right, if you were a popular vote, we'll go by this 3,841 3,841,487 votes.
Yeah.
And that will determine whether she has won it or not.
Yeah.
So let's look at Michigan, for example. Trump is at 827,012. She's at 759,410 until her number supersedes his.
Yeah.
Wait.
Then he's winning Michigan.
Yeah.
Hmm?
So now instead of going now, because he has 50 million votes and she has 44. So he will be leading by popular votes.
Yes.
But obviously the number doesn't look skewed right now. But if I look at, say, 2016 election, I'll show you what that means. 2016 election, where are we? So 232 to 306. Even though she had 65 million votes to his 62 million votes.
Yeah.
So she won the election by 48% to 45.9%. But because of the Electoral College, this is what can happen. So she picked up Nevada and then lost Wisconsin,
She
Michigan,
lost Pennsylvania,
Ohio, Arizona.
Iowa.
These are North Carolina. These are key states. These are absolutely key states. So the reason why I always go back to, I was telling Jesse before Bobby, before you got in here, that for her to have a part here, she would have to pick up Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. She could lose everything else. Because if she picks up these three states, that puts her at 273.
If she picked these three you called?
These three. She can pick this Wisconsin, Michigan. Obviously, she's going to win Minnesota, obviously. Don't just disregard this for now.
I think that's just 10 votes.
Yeah, Wisconsin,
Another 10.
Michigan, and Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
If she picks up these three, she can afford to lose North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. So these are key.
She might win.
Obviously, she's definitely going to pick up Hawaii for sure. So Arizona is very
many
Nevada
votes.
too.
What?
How many electoral votes? Hawaii.
Hawaii is probably like 2 or 3.
Four.
So Hawaii is 4. Let's see. It's 4. Alaska is the one that is 3. Okay. So if she is able to pick up everything that I've done some math on this. If she's able to pick up these 3 states, obviously with Minnesota, she can afford to lose 1, 2, 3 and still be fine. Nevada 1, 2, 3, 4 and still be fine. But she must pick up everything up here. Now, what are the odds of that happening?
That will happen.
Who knows? Because I mean, Wisconsin is super close right now. Michigan is they're all super close. And now, if Nevada is in play for her, we don't know what to expect. If Arizona is at play for her, that is a different conversation entirely. So we'll see how that plays out. But I mean, so far nothing surprising has happened. I would say, because when they call Oregon and Minnesota for her, that is 18 electoral
vote.
Yes, that is 18 electoral votes, and we have close to a tie.
And Connecticut is.
So they haven't even called New Mexico either. So if they call Oregon, New Mexico, and Minnesota, we're close to 200 for her.
There's a chance he's gonna win.
Oh, absolutely,
Georgia.
Absolutely. I think he will pick up Georgia, even though it's super tight right now. I can't really say for sure. I would much rather she picks up one of these places, North Carolina or Georgia, ideally, and then maybe can lose Wisconsin and pick up Michigan and Pennsylvania. I don't mind that scenario. Or she could pick.
She's back on leading in Michigan now.
if she could pick up Arizona, right, and lose Wisconsin, I'm fine with that too. If she picks up Nevada is how many electoral votes? Jesse, do you know?
Nevada
But
is a second. Nevada is 6 though.
yeah, so that is
Yeah,
pretty much just
Nevada.
a piece of the cake.
Because right now,
Yeah,
this guy
that's
just
what I
needs
said, man.
59.
You see, Nevada and Oregon are just 8 and 6.
No,
So
she'll pick Oregon, I'm pretty sure.
Arizona is like the so I think the part is California, Arizona, and Washington. Those are like big chunks too on that west coast south.
She's winning West Coast now.
I mean that's California. Yeah, I think California. So with her number now, if you add, have they called California?
Yes.
Oh, they've called California. Okay,
Yeah.
They've
what?
called California and New York.
Damn, those are big cards, man.
Yeah, I think California
Yeah,
has
but
54.
California cancels out Texas for her, and then New York cancels out 5 other states for her.
Yeah.
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 That's what I'm saying. Her big cards have been played already, so it's just
No,
remaining.
well, she has 8 plus
She still has Washington now.
18. She has Oregon. She has Minnesota. She
She has
has
Seattle.
yeah. Those are the only 2 cards she has to play. Everything else is a toss up.
She might win
And that's
Maryland if he hasn't been called.
So
no,
if like
if
give her Minnesota, that would put her at what number now?
so they haven't called New Hampshire. That usually goes to her, right?
Yeah.
They haven't called
Mhm.
Maine. That goes to her. That is 8 electoral votes right there. They haven't called Virginia. That is 13 electoral votes. That will go to her, right? So 8 plus 13
Mhm.
is 20 something. That already ties the game as we see it on the board, right? Let
Yeah.
me share this screen again so that you guys can see it a little bit before we get off. We're already at over the hour mark. But so they haven't called Maine, 4 electoral votes. They haven't called New Hampshire, that's 4 electoral votes. That's 8 electoral votes right there hanging in the balance. They haven't
Oregon.
called Virginia, that is 13 electoral votes. So we're looking at what? 23 electoral votes right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
23 plus 179 is 202. They
So
haven't called Oregon. Oregon is 8.
8.
They haven't called Minnesota. Minnesota is probably going to be 10.
Nevada is
So
like 6 right now.
at that, if they call all of these states, which usually most likely 10 blue, she takes the lead at 220, while he stays at 214.
It's a
So
close call.
everything now lies on these 5 states. Well, when they add Alaska to him, he goes closer to 220, and then she goes up to like 224 if they add Hawaii and Alaska, which we will know by tomorrow. Obviously, we know where they will lean towards. So no huge upsets for now, but she has the lead, whether the numbers show it or not, right? She's at 224, and he's probably at like 220 for now. When we haven't factored in this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 swing states. So let us see how that plays out.
But yeah, man.
Cheer up, guys.
Oh
There's
yeah.
still a
Oh
lot of life to live, man. Doesn't matter who is president.
yeah. I was just trying to just compare some systems and see what we can learn out of this these things, man. And did you ever see that Muammar Gaddafi's Green Book?
Yeah, I have it on my phone.
Yeah. Oh, what do you, like? What do you think it is? Like,
It,
is
it's,
there
it's just a
a
bunch.
system that could be work?
I think it's a bunch of ideas. Some are pretty radical. Some are very logical. Like the one about the universal currency in Africa is very logical. One economy in Africa. That way, what do they call them? The NSC. not NSE. The stock people, the guys on Wall Street cannot choose
Also,
to tank Zimbabwe's currency just because they can fuck with Zimbabwe. Now you're messing with an entire unit, Africa. And I
I,
feel like, yeah, if we have a universal system in Africa like that, universal economy, where $1, 1 naira in Nigeria equals to 1 cedi in Ghana, it becomes easier for us to have some kind of economic control over our own futures.
mm, just like the euros now, right?
Yeah, like euros,
The,
exactly like euros.
the euro takes over the whole of Europe, if not all.
Yes,
I don't know, but at least
exactly like that is
they,
a
they,
wonderful example.
they are able to control their aspect of economy, you know.
Yes,
But like
universal economy.
us, we everywhere.
But what was
See, if
then as a common ground? What's the middle ground to unite? Like,
middle ground to what?
Our leaders haven't
there
come
is
up.
even like what would be like the unifying the factor that will unify that everybody will have similarities now what we have in common all of us. I mean we
Well,
know
we have everything in common right now. We just need to agree to use it, right? Well, we're being pushed around by the world economies. We don't have say as to how much oil we export. We don't have any working refineries that we can use to provide Africa with oil in Africa. We always have to outsource. I mean,
Yeah,
they have a few in South Africa, but and then one or two in Guinea. But that is it. These refineries cannot produce oil for the entire African continent to use. They have one in Libya too. I'm sorry, but the problem now lies to how do we? And this is where Nigeria plays a key role in being the anchor. If Nigeria stands behind, if Nigeria can partner with South Africa and then a few other one or two East African countries, and then Ghana and a few other countries out there, every other person would fall in line. I'm talking about African countries without counting Egypt, Morocco, Algeria. I'm not counting them as Africa because they can, even though Algeria chose to be part of African Union, while the
think they
others
should be
refused.
I think they
Huh?
should I think they should be given.
Everybody should. I think the door was open to everybody, but they refused to opt in. Morocco did not opt in. And this is how we can be like, okay, I mean, Gaddafi himself was dragging every other person, Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, to that table. He's like, you guys come because we need you. And I don't know if there's any leader in Africa right now that can bring those countries to the negotiating table. Obviously, we have the tools, we have we have the problems, and problems can bring people to the negotiating table. We can be like, hey guys, look, our economies are in languish just because we don't have a unilateral system that we can use. And this system will be backed by the gold. So for them to tank these economies, they would have to tank the price of gold. And nobody wants to do that because all of the
nobody
world's assets,
is
every
in gold.
single is in gold. Every single country in the world has a good chunk of their assets in gold, in
And have you
banks.
have you seen the price of gold lately?
It's well, how much is it now?
Is 2007 something the last time.
Damn.
Yeah, it's been going up the last
So
so
if imagine if our currencies was tied to gold, the price of gold, we'll be sending money from Nigeria in hundreds of millions of naira to use here.
I
Oh
think
yeah,
one of the biggest infrastructure I think that we can actually build is road networks. If we can do like an I-90 that can connect all freely, without any, because now like everybody's having borders. I don't know if we won't understand the use of it because I think we're abusing it. I think if we can have that road network based on this political debate that I saw between Lincoln and this Douglas. What they were using road networks was for them in order for them to easily and freely move troops in and out. to be able to secure the stands as the United States Army was operational. So I think that would be like a very like a big project if everybody put heads together and was like, you know what, we're gonna create this I-90 roads, East Coast, West Coast, North, South. Anywhere you find yourself, you can actually take a trip without having any. But I think also security too has to play a part. But I think
Well,
build
the bottom, there has to be an anchor. The trade must be the unifying, must be the qualifier.
No,
I think
I'm
Jesse.
just saying, like, if we lay that foundation of just having that road network, I think it will force, it will also bring things into play. Like the trade will come because
Well,
what Ghana has or what Senegal has, the jollof rice, we can compare our jollof rice if it's not in and
there
get
has to
things
be
in
some
place.
kind of economic alignment before any of that. That is a huge project. No, how many countries have that kind of money to erect? Okay, where do you at whose border do you stop? Right, and then half of those countries there's desertification encroaching slowly. So nobody wants to invest in infrastructure in those areas, connecting roads. How far do you go into the country? What capital do you stop at? What major city do you stop at? These are questions that obviously I've wrestled with. But the question is, if we can come to some kind of economic agreement, those things are going to be a byproduct of the agreement that we come to terms with. Like, all right, guys, hey, one universal currency, agree, let Nigeria or let Senegal refine the oil for Africa. Let's give them that contract. So since they're refining the oil of Africa, they get to keep the byproducts. So since they're keeping the byproducts, they have to do the roads because they have excess of bitumen. But these are economic deals that we can come to alignment with, as long as there's some form of underscoring idea that we can bind behind. But right now, it could be Africa is like, if going to Ivory Coast might as well be the same thing as going to Spain from Nigeria, because we don't know anything about this country. The only thing we know is the language you speak, and we know that much about Spain, right? We know who the president is. We know that much about Spain. There's no. I can drive from, let's talk about Eastern Europe. I can drive from Serbia to Montenegro to Croatia. But the difference between their geopolitical agreement was because that was all one country before Yugoslavia, and then they erected borders up. So we were trying to unite a fragmented piece rather than break it apart. It's easier to break a whole apart than to put it together, right? And herein lies the challenge. Who are the leaders on that continent that we need? And the key is this: what is the average age of the president of Africa? They're in their 60s, most of them.
Yeah. It's true.
At least late 50s. I mean, we have a few exceptions here and there because of coups and everything else. But we have a bunch of geriatrics leading us. These guys, first of all, don't have any kind of vision. They're not looking into the future. They're looking to line their pockets as much as they can.
And leave the rest for their family.
If there's going to be anything left, so forward thinkers like ourselves, and I'm pretty sure we're not the only Africans thinking like this. There are a lot of Africans in Liberia, in Togo, in Benin Republic, in Sierra Leone, in the Gambia, in Zambia, in Zimbabwe, in Tunisia, in Algeria, in Morocco, in Egypt, that are thinking like this. But we need to hold on to this ideology and know that at some point it will come to our turn for people that we know to take the reins of leadership and now move towards this path of uniting Africa as one.
It's a long way.
It is very much so.
It's a long way. Like how Africans think. Like everyone's decisions, they want their opinion to matter. And if we can agree, if we can disagree to agree, how you think like that unity is gonna stand? You know, the South Africans don't like Nigerians, the Ghana
Yeah, I
fights,
mean,
like everyone is looking for that power. And can you imagine we're still fighting to have one unity currency in Africa?
Oh gosh, yeah, that is a tough fight right
It,
there.
it is a big shame because if you look at it, like Africa, Africa has how many countries? 53, right?
Something around there, yeah.
Okay, and we're still fighting to understand ourselves, our economy. How do we move forward? How do we, reach out to like the four corridors? Even within our own government systems, like we have problem with individual leaders that heads like different parastatals. They don't even agree with themselves. I mean, if we can't keep our house in order, how are we gonna make you know come to an understanding with other nations to create to stand for one unity? Because we're not just doing this for for ourselves. We're doing it for other small countries that have no voice. Are you sleeping? You
I
froze.
don't think so.
See that guy?
I think his network is kind of pausing a lot. So
Yeah. So I don't know. It's like we're always behind. You get, and it's high time we put all those differences aside and just say, hey, with or without the like the other continents help, we're going to do it our own way. We don't have to wait for these guys anymore because they feel like, oh, we have um they have autonomy over us. you know if we don't abide by their own rules, they're gonna withheld um the funds, because I know they fund Africa in some way, maybe security, in terms of infrastructure. They're gonna withhold those funds. But we've seen other countries say, hey, to hell with you guys, we don't need your help. you know we'll go to other superpowers that can stand for us, that will help us. So it's high time we like just do it our own way, because the more we wait, the longer it's gonna take, and we'll be behind. See what BRICS is doing now. BRICS is going under one currency in terms of foreign exchange and
but
exports.
they took Gaddafi's idea and implemented it across different nations of the world.
Yeah,
So yeah, that is Gaddafi's idea too.
you
What
see.
BRICS are? I mean, they are challenging the dollar right now, and I can promise you, in the next 2 or 3, we're going to have a real problem on our hands with
I
BRICS.
know it's gonna be tough though, but
Because look up, for example, North Korea have 10,000 troops
in
in
Ukraine,
Ukraine. Yes,
those ones
that's
we
crazy.
just, I think they are signing their death warrant.
That's crazy right there. Because
Because
if
look at it this way, they go into a region they are not familiar with.
yeah, oh, absolutely. That's always a downside. But I'm looking at it from a political perspective, right? If North
Oh,
Korea are willing to commit that many troops to a fight that they have pretty much nothing to gain
nothing.
economically, it's
They lose.
only maybe
It's a
some.
lose-lose situation.
Yes, that just tells you how much they're willing to sacrifice for a country like Russia. So, for example, if Russia were to go into an adversarial situation with any other major democracy in the world, we already know that they have North Korea's 100% support.
Yeah, yeah,
Say
yeah.
like a US that we know that North Korea hates.
Mm,
If Russia were to get in some kind of skirmish, God forbid, with the US, we already know where North Korea lies. We know where China are going to fall.
yeah.
So between China, for example, by itself, China would never put troops on the ground to fight any war anymore.
Nope.
They control the world economy. They will just limit supply to that place. And guess what?
Pretty much.
Millions would starve.
Even right now, like like how they have like these sanctions on Russia and all that stuff. Like a lot of countries don't want to deal with Russia due to the Ukraine issue.
Yes.
China is still doing like not like they're coming out like telling the whole world, oh, we're doing these deals with Russia also, but there are some incentives they're gaining from.
They're doing some deals, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but just behind closed door, but they cannot like, oh, just open up to the world like, hey, we're doing this. That's because they have the powers,
Yeah.
all they have a big percentage of the the foreign imports that goes into other countries.
Mm-hmm.
So what if they cut it off? What are you gonna do? And here I know Trump is saying, oh, we shouldn't deal with China, we shouldn't be, you know, exporting our trades over there. That whatever comes from there, he's gonna impose like 200% tariff. But that's gonna fall on the taxpayer,
Consumers.
on the
Yeah,
consumers.
absolutely.
It's not gonna affect China
It's not a
because
very efficient system. It's not
yeah,
a good way to tackle any kind of
it's
problem.
gonna fall on the what you call it, the company bringing in those goods, and they are not running that business to lose. They're
Mm-hmm.
gonna up the prices. Who pays for those goods? It's consumers.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, I I might have to leave you guys. I don't know how long Jesse wants to stay,
Oh
but
yeah,
I have some other.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
have
so
to
okay,
go take
so
care of some other business.
before we go, so what will the Trump win means to the you know to the US and to the world?
This is an affirmation on corrosive conservatism. I think it's a thumbs up for lawlessness. I think, in my own opinion, I think it's more of a cosmetic um, damage than it actually is real damage, right? I
Mm,
could be wrong because I'm not versed in a lot of these topics, but I feel like that is a thumbs up on this aggressive hatred, and anti-immigration rhetoric.
yeah.
Because when we talk about this Project 2025 that they were talking about with over 150 pages of stipulations that they want to put into place when they
Mm,
win the election, that becomes a problem because, I mean, we're talking about Supreme Court, for example. Two of those judges might retire within the next 2 years.
shit.
Um,
It's
yeah,
over.
over. Yeah. So if Trump were to replace those two judges with other conservatives for the
Thomas
next
and
30,
Alito.
yes, for the next 30 years, it cements the Supreme Court to lean right.
Holy cow.
And then we can talk about immigration. This might be either a damaging effect on immigration or a path to immigration reform. The Trump presidency. That is a loose kind already that we don't really know how it will play out because it can be so aggressive and anti-immigration that the next president will come in and be like, okay, this is too bad. We need to do something positive, right? So that is a toss-up for me. The economy, I think, would be the same, maybe slightly better, because billionaires feel will get all of these tax breaks and would
It's a
reinvest in
slight, it's
expansion.
a slightly better. That's because the current president, right, has been
Yeah,
cleaning up the mess of the last.
I know. No, yes, I know. Don't get me wrong. This Republicans. People always is a perception thing. People always imagine that the economy is better with Republicans until the Democrat comes in there and is trying to fix up the mess that Republicans created. And when I say better, it's because the issue that we're having with industrialization now is that more of these corporations don't want to invest on American soil
Mm,
because they don't feel like they're getting enough tax breaks or benefits to invest. So they'll take these jobs offshore and
mm,
bring back these finished
the
products to sell
finished
to the
goods.
American people.
Mm,
So the reason why I say it to be slightly better is because a lot of billionaires and all of these corporations would be motivated to invest in the US and create more jobs, right?
mm.
So it will be better short term, just for a short period of time. But in the long term, you're going to lose much more because a lot of these tariffs that they're going to impose on some of these goods and services, for example, the consumer will carry them. And when the consumer carries them, we'll either have to sever our addiction to these goods and services or have to pay more for them. So you're essentially robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're taking money that you saved from a job that was outside the US that is now in the US to pay for another good and service that you were paying maybe 50% less for. So it might appear slightly better for the short term, but long term is going to be a mess. I mean, the kind of inflation that economists have projected will happen after the 2-year mark of a second Trump presidency, it will make this look like heaven.
Cake.
So fingers crossed. Let's wait and see.
Yep. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Now we'll come back and deliberate.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I see Jesse.
Jesse is barely awake.
No.
You're twitching.
No, it's my camera. I'm not twitching. That's why I'm trying to just switch it off. But
What kind of laptop are you using?
I'm using an Apple. It's just
Huh?
it's getting hot.
All right, it's time to go then.
All right, guys.
All right, nice seeing you guys.
Yeah.
Bye. Shit.